Welcome to Ojas Oasis. This is a place where you will learn how to optimize your body, mind, and spirit in ways you have longed for a long time, perhaps your entire life. Our mission is to help you cultivate, nourish, and protect your ojas, your immunity, and inner peace. We're live! We're live!
It's so great to be with you, Sasha. It feels like just a week ago when we were walking around Vaidyagrama, talking about panchakarmas and talking about visiting Isha Yoga Center. It's great to be with you.
It's so great to see your face. I also feel like it was just yesterday. I mean, we were in such a special little incubated time together and we clicked right away. And
We were.
I remember the first time we got to really talk one on one, hours and hours went by and we were exploring like all these topics, all these various, layers of astrology. I'm sure we talked about astrology and like what it all meant and how it applied to what we were going through in real time. And India is such a
Yes.
transformational, fertile soil, like it really is. If you go there with the intention of transformation and you're really earnest and pure in your intention, it will happen. You don't know how exactly, but it will
It is
happen.
such a charged and sacred space that has seen countless sages and saints and yogis, and just setting foot on the land of India or Bharat, you can't help but be touched by something very, very powerful, beyond anything you can understand, comprehend. And I think it's amazing that people like us, from the Midwest somehow ended up in South India.
And
Are you originally from
I
Midwest,
am
Sasha? Or?
Chicago,
Yeah,
Chi-town represent.
yeah.
Cleveland.
Cleveland,
Yeah.
Cleveland, Ohio.
It's pretty much same place, right?
And we were talking about AI. So you and I took our horoscope image and loaded it to ChatGPT. So talk about 2024, 2025, overlap between the ancient and the modern, and how you can have a somewhat useful and insightful AI powered
Oh
Jyotish.
my, I love even your pronunciation of Sanskrit. You can tell that you've been in India for a long time. And I'm really excited to get into your story because it's a very unique journey
Sure.
and path that you decided to take quite early in your life, and to have that type of
Yeah.
what we say in Yiddish is chutzpah, but just,
Chutzpah.
the cojones or the chutzpah to, you know, I know a bit, some details about the decision making process, and I'm just so impressed by you as a person. I really just wanted to have an excuse to talk more with you. Sometimes the
Yeah.
podcast is
Yeah.
just like, I mean, it's amazing because they're really, it's about having interesting conversations that are worth
Yes.
sharing, basically. And
Yes. Yeah.
this connection that we have, this organic kind of instant, relatability with being on the spiritual path, being in India, studying the Vedas, meditation, yoga. Um, I think a lot of us find that effortless connection, but it's really special when someone approaches it with this really kind of scholarly approach, which is more unique. It's even
Mm.
more niche within our niche
Mm.
because some people are dabbling here and there, and maybe they want to go back to their lives and work full time as something else, but we kind of went full throttle in.
Full throttle, full
Yeah.
immersion.
So Trent Navran, is
Yeah.
that's the right pronunciation? Trent Navran.
Yep. Yep.
You have been an incredible teacher of Vedic well, should we call it Vedic meditation?
I have been trained to facilitate, meditations, Kriya Yoga, and I've been experiencing it personally for the last 12 years.
And you volunteered, you have been or were previously, as of very recently, no longer doing that, but you were volunteering with Sadhguru's ashram in India, Isha temple in
Yeah.
Coimbatore,
Yeah.
for what, 10 years? Something like that?
I became a volunteer in
Okay.
2013, and then I became full time in 2019. And then, as you mentioned, just in the last few months, I am um, returning to the city life with my family, my mother, my father, my brother in Denver, still volunteering part time, but kind of integrating what I've learned and resuming some
We're
career
totally hanging
aspirations.
out, by the way, like in the very near future. It's
Guaranteed.
obvious, like that's happening because I'm
Yes.
in Boulder right now, and yeah, that's a 30-minute drive. That's happening.
I'll be in Denver in a
Perfect.
few weeks.
Me too.
So,
So
uh,
I wanted to ask you what first drew you to Sadhguru's teachings. How did you find my favorite question to ask first is always how did the Vedas find you or how did you find the Vedas? And I suppose we could say how did
thank you
Sadhguru,
for that
because
question.
Sadhguru is like the specific teacher that you really resonated with.
Yes. Yes. So I think it goes back to childhood, actually, growing up in a multicultural household. My father is originally from Iran. My mother is American with European ancestry. And I grew up in a very open, welcoming household filled with just diverse ways of life, diverse ways of thinking. And I always had more questions than answers. A few times I visited church, sometimes I would visit a mosque. And I was very curious in, um, religious behaviors and what is the source of religion? What is there truth behind it or not? And as I began to seek more and more, I felt like I wanted an experience of truth, not an ideology or a belief system. And it was actually my aunt and uncle in California who exposed me to Eckhart Tolle as well as Taoism when I was like 12 years old. We had a beautiful conversation. We were just driving in the car. My aunt was putting on Deepak Chopra. Never heard someone speak like him before. And she just created this space where I could ask questions I'd never asked before around God, around consciousness. And because she gifted me the book A New Earth, that just created an amazing introspective journey for me starting at a young age. And I remember to this day, there was an experience on a page in that book where Tolle writes about consciousness, and he pauses and says, some people also refer to this as God. I was like, wait, what? The idea that we're all part of this same energy or frequency or consciousness, and many traditions recognize that as the divine, not separate from the divine, it hit me not intellectually, but experientially. It was this moment of revelation, of insight, of joy, of relief. I felt a certain relief in having this peek at truth, and that ignited an even more um, uh, fierce and exciting journey for me. And then, when you fuse that with what was happening around me, my father had a very close Gujarati family friend. He would have us over for dinner. He and his wife would make amazing meals for us, and he would talk to me and my older brother. And he just looked at us one day and said, I was probably 13 or 14 at this point, you both seem very studious. You both seem very ambitious. What if I could tell you that yoga could help supercharge your mind and allow you to sleep even less and get the best grades you could hope for? And we're like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, it's called yoga nidra. So he taught me and my brother Yoga Nidra, and he also put on a DVD of Baba Ramdev, who is a well-known teacher and master of yoga, especially in North India. He's very, very influential. And while I did not immediately integrate Yoga Nidra or Hatha yoga or Kriya yoga, my older brother really got interested. So I remember him putting on the same DVD, learning pranayama, breathing techniques, learning different asanas or postures. And I was just watching him thinking, wow, this is sticking with him. And he's the kind of person where when he feels conviction in something, he goes all in. So next thing I know, my brother finds Sadhguru on YouTube and decides to go to Atlanta in 2011 to go through inner engineering in person, which is Sadhguru's flagship program. It teaches you just a life transforming methodology of how to look at the body, the mind, emotions, energies. And I think my brother, after being exposed to Baba Ramdev, was looking for a live experience with someone who was in the US. And Sadhguru happened to be traveling at that point between the US and India and many other countries. So when he learned a Kriya practice called Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, I was very interested because here I was experimenting with ideas and different outlooks on life and different books. But my brother had taken the step of learning a method, a technique, a sadhana. And I saw how it changed his life. I could see week by week how he was becoming more calm, more balanced, more wise, more patient. And it was really beautiful for me to see that because, of course, adolescence is a period you have ups and downs, you start doubting things, your identity is in flux. And here he was creating this like infrastructure of well being. So, all these dots start connecting, right? I decided to go to college. I moved to Houston. I went to Rice University. I was studying neuroscience and I was planning to become a physician. And then my brother calls me up and says, Sadhguru's coming to Houston. You're taking inner engineering. There wasn't even really an option. and, and I had just received a small grant from Rice to travel to India and Nepal because I was already going to dive into meditation. At that point, I was convinced I need to taste this and I want to connect it with my study of the mind and my study of neuroscience. How does East meet West? How does science intermingle with spirituality? Surely they are not completely isolated and disparate things. So to me, freshman year of college is over. I'm going to Nepal and India. I might as well learn a method that I can use for myself as I'm asking these questions and as I'm exploring these topics. So I remember it in a very vivid sense. Going to the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston. There was over 1,000 people there. It was one of the largest programs Sadhguru had at that point. This was, I think, May 2012, and he stepped into the convention hall. Everyone stands up, which I was like, why is everyone standing up? What's this all about? And I could just sense this deep sense of reverence. Everyone who had maybe known about Sadhguru, especially maybe they were from an Indian background, was welcoming someone who was just embodying um, the wisdom of yoga and I think the Vedic wisdom of that land. And in those 4 days, Sasha, I feel like I learned more about the mind, about human nature than I did in all of my college classes combined. So, like 4 days of insight and wisdom from Sadhguru. To this day, I feel like it exceeds 4 years of what I learned in all my college classes. And the reason I say that with so much conviction is because it was not a belief system he was handing to us. It was not an ideology or dogma that he was asking us to take in. He was speaking about life through his lens as a realized master and offering a technique for you to also realize. And that's what I've always respected about the Eastern traditions is that it's about what works. If this doesn't work for you, get up, leave, find something new. And this is not about worshiping or offloading or outsourcing your autonomy and your life path to someone else. This is about finding a teacher, finding a guru, which just means one that dispels darkness, one that illuminates, finding someone who can offer that illumination and receiving something that you can use to evolve and to enhance your clarity, enhance your perception. So it was just amazing. That's how the Vedas found me. That's how Sadhguru found me. It was through my family life, through my father's Indian friends, through my brother's seeking, through my aunt and uncle's nurturing of my spiritual inclination. And that's where the journey began.
Wow. Where to begin? I mean, what you said about having learned more in those 4 days than 4 years of college is a pretty big deal, considering how much emphasis we put on, college education. And I think that
Yeah.
could lend itself to a larger conversation around, what is education really for, if not to help us. Well, sure, we want to learn, how to apply skills to a profession and earn a
Right.
livelihood, but life knowledge, right? That's really what Ayurveda is, by the way. That literally is the translation. And I've been wondering ever since I found Ayurveda personally, like in my own life, and watching how it has changed the way that I think, the entire paradigm of how I relate to the world and myself. And
Mm.
that is probably the single most important aspect of educating somebody, is empowering them with the knowledge of, first, like that foundational lens first of how you even take knowledge in. How are you even going to absorb and assimilate everything that you're learning if your mind isn't first steady and, in a state of balance, or sama. um
Yes.
and
Yes.
and physiologically speaking, how's the digestion, how is the sleep, how is the breathing, are you breathing out of your nose, are you breathing equal, are your channels blocked, can you, it's
Mm.
just so simple, like these very fundamental blocks of health, how that health and education actually are like very much connected, in that, like, you can't, how are you,
Definitely.
how are we expected to get these good grades and perform and be this like high achieving culture and just constantly go after the next accolade, if we're not,
Yeah.
like, that's not really a sustainable um goal, if
Yeah.
we're not first able to know how to take care of ourselves from a very fundamental aspect. So the Ayurveda, and the things that Sadhguru is teaching. I mean, I want to get more into that, and like specifically what, how the inner engineering program works, because I haven't done it yet. I've always been curious. It's always piqued my
Mhm.
interest, but
Mhm.
um I think that's so, you were so impacted in those 4 days that you ended up volunteering for him for a decade. I mean,
Yes.
that's pretty incredible,
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
impact.
The the benefits started, kind of gradually rolling in for each person. I've met thousands of people now who've gone through the program. For some people, it's very spontaneous and sudden. For some people, it gradually happens. For me, I started noticing, just nature around me was much more alive. I would look at the trees on campus at Rice and just notice how vibrant they were, how alive they were. I would notice in classes which might have been stressful that I felt way more ease, way more calm. Of course, in college, you form all kinds of friendships and relationships, and you would have these ups and downs. I felt so anchored in the midst of occasional chaos and turmoil. And then, yeah, I just started experiencing bliss and happiness not as a pursuit, but as a constant companion. And people would always say, why do you smile so much? Like, what's going on with you? And it's just that when you focus on being, as you were saying earlier, right? So much of Western society focuses on doing, having, owning, accomplishing. When you make being your fundamental priority, um, that changes the whole context of your life, because then you learn how to be, you learn how to sit, you learn how to breathe, how to pay attention. And I find that that amplifies everything. This is not about withdrawing from life, escaping life, giving up material or worldly aspirations. It's about addressing the building blocks first, so that whatever you want to pursue, whether it's entrepreneurship, monkhood, podcast, content creation, artificial intelligence, you can give yourself to it fully. And as you pointed out, if someone is suffering from, a gut issue or chronic illness or stress, mental dis-ease, it's going to make it so hard to pursue what you want. So I feel that the wisdom of Ayurveda, the power of yoga is something that delivers you to a state of equanimity and clarity, so that whatever you want to pursue, you're equipped to do that. Um, so yeah, that's why I felt it was worth investing a whole chapter of my life exploring this and immersing in it, so that I could, unlock as much growth and benefit as possible. And now I realize it's a lifelong journey. It's not just going and learning something and then moving on. It's a continuous exploration of truth and growth.
And isn't
So
it also a continuous integration? Because life is organic and
yes,
it keeps changing, right? Every day you
yes,
might meet a new person that changes the trajectory of your life, or you might hear a word or overhear a sentence, literally, or read a book or listen to a podcast, and all of a sudden you're like,
yeah,
now your life is looking different and you have to bring your practices with
yes.
you.
You must. You must. There was a big shift for me in 2019 where I realized sadhana, or this process of using devices and methods for growth. Sadhana is not just something that happens on the mat. Sadhana is an entire way of living and being. And if I only pursue truth for 2 hours a day when I'm exploring my interiority, I'm denying myself another 22 hours where the pursuit of growth and truth and self-realization can happen even while you're asleep. And that's a whole different topic we could explore. But yeah, I found that applying and integrating whatever I've learned in my daily interactions, in my work, in my readings, in my time in nature, that's really where a lot of the growth started to happen. So kind of crafting that congruity so that part of your day isn't about well-being and a sattvic lifestyle, and then part of your day is just ignoring all of that and running yourself through the grinder. Um, so yeah, I think you've nailed it, Sasha. It's about integration and about you've never really arrived. It's like a continuous arriving at new situations, new insights, new challenges, and embracing them, because whatever confronts you in life is ultimately there to help you
You
keep
use
evolving.
this word sadhana, uh, which is
Yeah.
like a daily spiritual practice, you can say. Um, and I
Yes.
feel like so many people, including myself, if I'm going to be quite honest, because I never had a guru. I, uh, I mean, I've had amazing teachers. I've been blessed. I have a really, I told you I had a really great ninth house. We looked at each other's astrology charts. I forget what it was, but we were like, okay, no wonder we get along so well, because we saw something in our charts, and I forget. We should look again. We'll look
There
after this
was.
call. We'll jump on and look
Yes.
at our charts, but or in
Yes.
person. But I think it does have something to do with the ninth house, because the ninth house is the house of Dharma.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, and gurus, and having good teachers, being blessed with that in your life, that's a huge source of
Yes.
wealth, is having good teachers. I don't think people realize that there's many sources of wealth and things that enrich you, and to have a good teacher in this life, it's
Invaluable.
incomparable, like and invaluable, and something that I wish for everybody. I think that's another reason that I push myself to uh continue to show up. I don't really push myself, actually. Let me retract that statement. I feel so compelled and pulled,
Yeah.
drawn into the Dharma, and the seva
Yes.
of doing the podcast, because I'm like, I am teaching
Mm.
to people who may have never heard of these words before, or have never heard of these concepts, or have never thought of life through this lens before. And I get to bring incredible teachers to help me teach alongside, and have these amazing relatable conversations, and make it really palatable, and not so highbrow, not so, you don't have to go to India for 10 years or however many.
Right.
It's
Right.
These are
Yeah.
things that we can start to just drop these seeds in conversation, and doesn't it all make sense? I mean, it just
Definitely.
feels true. And there's a deeper
Yes.
inner knowing that life is about being more so than doing. Because if you're not able to
Yes.
be, then the doing part will be contaminated with the quality of the being, right?
Absolutely.
um
Yes.
but when
Without a doubt.
back to the sadhana uh aspect, I'm wondering how inner engineering specifically helped you cultivate that consistency.
Mm. Mm. Yes, so I purposefully leave out a lot of details because I think it's crucial that it's a
Yeah.
fresh experience. But what I went through was 4 days of exploring so many fundamental questions. What does it mean to have a body, and how can you make this work for you, not against you? What does it mean to have this mind? How has it come into this form where it can let you accomplish so many things and form so many tools? And why is it that we've been able to make all of these tools to engineer the outside world the way we want? We've never lived in so much comfort and convenience. And yet, so many of us have not found the right tools to engineer this life, the way we want it. The rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness are only going up as we become a more rich and advanced society. So to me, it was just this amazing realm to be in with other seekers from around the country, with Sadhguru, looking at these questions. And he is just speaking from his clarity, from his knowing that has happened to him over decades about these topics. And I just continuously found I don't feel like he is sharing a belief. I don't think he's sharing a teaching. He's just speaking about life as it is, and that's how it hit me. Everything he was saying was just an exploration of life. And when that exploration was merged with actually learning a combination of asanas and breathing and the full kriya, it just it was a gift that I had not comprehended or imagined prior. And shortly after learning the practice in Houston, I joined a community health education project in Ecuador. I was doing my first mandala, or 48-day period of integrating the practice. And that was very important. Sadhguru challenged all of us. You'll only know the potency of this, the benefit of this, if you do this consistently. So at the very least, do this for a mandala. And then continue it. And if it doesn't work, give it up. If it does work, well, just like anything you do that's worthwhile, brushing your teeth, bathing, eating, you'll not want to give this up. So I accepted the challenge because I felt that he had invested his life in all of us, and it was only the right thing to do for myself and for him to try the practice every day. So I found that as I was traveling from Houston to the western coast of Ecuador and volunteering, doing community health, hygiene related work, um, this practice was just starting to take root. And then a few weeks later, I found myself in Nepal, going to these amazing temples, hiking in the Himalayan wilderness. And then I finally arrived in India for the very first time, and had such a cool experience visiting Mumbai, taking a 32-hour train to Kochi in Kerala, and then taking another 5-hour train to Coimbatore. And when I arrived at the yoga center, Isha Yoga Center in Coimbatore, something about the space just really drew me in and really made me want to explore even further. I just felt that you cannot have a space like this unless um, you want to serve humanity, because people are understandably a little skeptical of spiritual teachers and gurus, and there have been examples where maybe there has been misrepresentation or manipulation by certain spiritual teachers, not just in India but in many parts of the world. So I came in with, I would say, a healthy amount of skepticism. What is this about? Is this going to benefit me? Is this real? And just sitting in some of the consecrated spaces and some of the meditation spaces, um, I felt such a sense of calm and ease, and even a release of tension, of maybe apprehension, of because in college you have so many questions. What am I going to end up doing? How am I going to find my fulfillment? And just in that space, I felt I'm enough. Life is enough. There is no purpose to life other than living as fully and beautifully as you can. And this space was created just for that very purpose. So to answer your question around what did this practice start doing in my life? How did it start helping me? When did I start seeing the benefits? Why do I feel it was one of the most rewarding investments of time in my life? It was a gradual unfolding of insight, of balance, of clarity, and of completeness. Like to feel that you are complete, that you don't need a relationship or a job or an income or possessions. Those are all fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But those are things they're almost something that serves an expression of your joy and completeness. They don't actually complete you. And to realize that, while I'm in college, where there's so many distractions and temptations and confusions, um, to this day, it's one of the greatest blessings I could have ever asked for. And from that point onwards, inner engineering has continued to thrive for me on a daily basis. But then I've also gone into more hatha yoga practices, other kriya practices, and that has brought me to a place of there's just no words to explain how it's transformed
So
my life.
the consistency of the sadhana, it sounds like you were just kind of on board from day one. You were so inspired by the way that Sadhguru was conveying the knowledge that it just kind of you actually described the 48-day, the mandala. So that sounds like a strategy. It's like it's a way of kind of, it's like, try this out for 48 days. Doesn't have to be forever, but try it, commit to this.
Yeah,
And something about that,
yeah,
why do you know why it's 48 days specifically? Is there something, I'm sure there's a significance to that number and why
yeah.
it's called a mandala.
Yes, my understanding is that those who have explored this life in its totality, right, the many rishis and sages that have existed, come they arrived in an understanding that the human system has its own cycle, as everything else has cycles: sun, moon, all the celestial bodies. So it seems that a 40 to 48-day period is when the human system goes through a full cycle of its own. So to kind of receive a new practice or to make some kind of lifestyle alteration, that is the period of time that a full integration would happen, and when one could expect to see certain changes, certain benefits. And even when it comes to panchakarmas, it's like a half mandala, that a 21-day period is necessary and crucial to experience medicinal benefits. So I think similarly, um, in this realm of Vedic wisdom, I think the masters who've created these sciences of yoga and Ayurveda saw that there are minimum durations to kind of imbibe something new and to allow that to take root in one's system. So in the case of receiving this yoga practice from Sadhguru, the minimum trial period was
Interesting.
48
I've heard
days.
of the 42-day because I just did, I think after
Mm-hmm.
I told you, after Panchakarma, I went and did a Kriya yoga teacher training at Sattva. And
Nice.
and they
Oh, nice.
they
Yes.
really were, I mean, I learned Kriya yoga for the first time. So um that was
Mm,
pretty amazing. I had no idea what Kriya was before I went. I understood the
amazing.
word kind of. um but
Yeah.
yeah, it was really powerful. And they said
Mm,
that when you leave the training, when you go back to your life and you're integrating this, try a Kriya set, like just try a set of Kriyas. They didn't give us like a one for everyone, not like how Sadhguru gives the Shambhavi Mahamudra. Um, I don't think we even learned that one. I would love to though.
mm,
Um, but they were just
mm.
like, try your whatever you feel charmed to try, just keep that consistent for 42 days. Or if 42 days feels too long, do 21. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I think you're definitely right, Sasha, that there is a strategy here to committing to a period of time, because you won't see a benefit unless you do something consistently. So whether that's 7 days, 21 days, 42 days, 48 days, I think the notion is, what does it require for this system, this life, to embrace and integrate a practice, whether it's a physical practice like a hatha yoga practice, or more of an internal action like a kriya practice, or even a dietary change, or bringing an herb into one's daily routine. If you just try it for 3 days and then say, it didn't do anything for me, whether it's an ashwagandha herb, whether it's a hatha practice, whether it's a kriya practice, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice because you haven't allowed it to take root. So I've heard of a mandala being defined as a
Okay.
40 to 48-day period. I like always
Yeah.
pushing to
Yeah. Of
the
course.
extreme end so that I know I've done my absolute
Yep. Of course.
best to kind of bring it in. But I would say to this amazing community that you're building, explore something that speaks to you and try it for a minimum of 21 days or a full mandala. One practice that Sadhguru offers that you can learn in less than a half hour is called Isha Kriya. So Isha Kriya is a simple yet powerful practice designed to bring a certain amount of balance and ease and clarity. And coming very, very soon, there will be a new app experience that's being created. It's called Miracle of Mind, which will also be a free, simple, potent practice that people can download as an app experience, and it will create a certain loop where you're, I guess, motivated to do it every day. So I think that's always the challenge, is like, I know this is useful, I know this is beneficial, how do I create the motivation and the discipline around it? uh, there are many volunteers at Isha Foundation hard at work right now who are getting ready to launch a whole new movement around human consciousness and mental well-being, mental resilience. So I think that'll be something very, very cool for people to try out and just see after a few weeks or a whole 48-day cycle, what has this done? How am I feeling in terms of my energy levels, my emotions, my mental clarity, how I'm interacting with others? That's the beauty of being in this world. Is it's like a playground to enhance yourself and learn about yourself and identify shortcomings and then transcend those limitations.
I'm so
So
happy that this conversation organically unfolded into the importance of consistent practice. And
yeah,
coming from the perspective of an Ayurvedic doctor, my role in a student or a patient's life is to somewhat take on that role of a coach, in that
yes,
I don't know if coach is the right word, but helping them, very holding their hand in the beginning as these practices like start to, I wish there was another word for integrate, but it really is, there's a process of like resistance at first. And I think this really is the key challenge of getting all of this into the mainstream consciousness, is that initial resistance, not to be deterred by that and to actually just allow, like for me, I have to figure out the strategy of, like, if someone's coming to me and they have diabetes, or if they're overweight, and or they have sugar addiction, and you know I'm thinking of like many cases that I've had of, how do I like initially bring Ayurvedic lifestyle practices in that will stick and that
mm,
are not very difficult to integrate. So like those initial simple things of, yeah, like I can think of, instead of candy, how about you have Chyavanprash, right? An hour before
yeah,
bed. Chyavanprash has jaggery in it and it's sweet, but it also has 50 adaptogenic herbs that are going to enhance your ojas. And it's thick and it's
yeah.
really nourishing. And if you have that with a half cup of warm milk spiced with cardamom and cinnamon, there you go. There's your yummy,
Boom.
nourishing, or like dates, soaked in warm milk. Again, spiced with the cardamom.
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't that so yummy? Just these like simple things of you know getting, like, meeting people where they're at. And so many people are, like you said, you said most people have, not most people, but maybe actually most people have a spectrum of experiencing depression and anxiety because of the way that
Yeah,
we're living now, which is so focused on doing, not
yes,
being. And
yes,
I just feel like you have to realize that this is, even if this is the most incredible life changing knowledge in the world, which it is, getting people to consistently integrate what you're teaching, it might sound like a simple ask, but it's so not easy for people. It might be easy for us to
yes.
teach it, like, oh, this is what you do. Okay, you've never meditated before. Let's start you out with a 21 day. Let's do 21 days. And then they might come back in a week and say, Trent, Sasha, I really struggled. Something crazy happened at work. One of my kids got sick. I haven't been sleeping very well. I totally fell off the wagon. Do you know how often this is at my long-term patients, like this is how, I have to keep kind of having this presence in their life, and I want to, because it's so easy for it to fall away. Even if you get into a groove, maybe for a year or two, again, all it takes is one big life-changing event, like losing someone that you're close to. Like it could be a divorce, it could be a death, it could be like, look what's going on with the natural disasters. People are losing their homes, everything they have, and all of a sudden, which by the way is an incredible moment, an opportunity to realize, what is it that cannot be taken away? What is it that does
Mm.
last through the test of time?
Mhm.
These are the questions that we should be asking, because you know
Absolutely, Sasha.
um there are certain things that when you cultivate within yourself, that they can never be taken, and no matter what happens to you in your life, um you have them to fall back on and to anchor you. I love the word that you used earlier, was anchor and ground. And
Mhm.
so we know the benefits of this, we know how valuable it is, and yet I'm so interested in applying the knowledge, making it
Mm.
feel doable, like really, really doable and tangible. Like this can integrate into modern world. This can integrate into
Yes,
Western culture. It's not a pie in the sky. Um, there
it's
are
not.
incremental changes and shifts that we encourage to kind of dip your toe in, and that will naturally progress. But getting people to dip their toe in and bringing them back and reminding them, I feel like the reminders are so important.
Minders. Yeah. I think it's so important to have a strong why. Why do I want to do this? What am I aspiring towards? And then having some system, some accountability, someone you can trust who's looking out for your well-being to help bring you back to center. Because there are major life events that can derail us. And I would say there's even minor things. Like I'm here in Austin right now. I've been catching up with some of my good friends. Just going out to a concert and getting back a few hours later than normal, that can completely affect your morning routine, and then suddenly you're rushing to get up and do this and that or go to work, and you miss your morning practice. So it's so common in the current setup we have in society to deprioritize these things because of all the other things that are demanding our attention, our family relationships, our career and financial needs. So I think having a strong why, when I look at how the world is shifting, especially with things like artificial intelligence, there's so much about our activities that will be automated and that will be replaced by machines. There are some very smart people and companies that are estimating, um, 70+% of jobs that currently exist will eventually be automated by software as well as robots, humanoid robots. So going back to what you asked, in the face of natural disaster, what is it that cannot be burnt away or swept away? In the
Or
age of
replaced.
artificial intelligence, what is it about the human being that cannot be replaced? And I think it is not a coincidence that you have um, beings like Sadhguru and other people who are teaching the just the brilliant wisdom of yoga, Ayurveda. Human consciousness has never been more important. It is a timeless wisdom, but I feel that learning how to be in this age of automation and AI, there's really nothing more important, because in just the next few years we are going to see exponential changes. I mean, I think anyone who's been tracking how the world is changing since ChatGPT was launched, you can see developments happening every week. Just imagine how that exponential curve is going to affect us in terms of how healthcare is practiced, in terms of mobility and cars, in terms of what careers look like. Many of my friends are engineers in the software industry, and a lot of like those junior roles where you're fresh out of college wanting to jump in, they're evaporating. They don't exist anymore because now AI can do that job with far less expense and far less issues and mistakes. So like what are people going to do when they're out of college? How do they jump from, junior level to, intermediate and senior? So there are so many practical and existential questions that are arising in people's minds. And for me, it just reinforces that um, how you are, how you exist in this moment, the presence that you carry is
Mm.
so vital, because it's only from that place of balance and ease that you can do anything, especially in a world where change is now the constant.
I love that you brought up AI. Can you, by any chance, tell us a bit about what you're now exploring since you've been back from India? I mean, first of all, how has that been after living so long in this kind of, container, this really strong container of spirituality, and now you're back in the US. I met you right before you came back, and you were kind of like, okay, I'm getting
Yes.
ready to go back into the world and the matrix or whatever we want to call this, and it's time to play the game again. And but you have this incredible intelligence within you that I had no doubt you were going to find something that, valued everything that you value and that was in alignment with you, because I just know how you make decisions. And I know that you're so in your integrity and in your dharma. So, and here we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence. And I was like, well, very intelligent
Yeah.
person seeing where humanity is going and the direction that we're all going. And it's no surprise that this is where you've gravitated toward.
Yes. First of all, thank you for your kind words. And it's so nice to reconnect after many months and be talking about things that matter to us, and that hopefully matter to humanity at large. I've always gravitated towards human well-being and medicine. Originally in high school, I wanted to become a biomedical engineer and help create, nanobots that would travel through your bloodstream and latch on to disease cells or cancer cells and cure them or blow them up. Then I became drawn towards the practice of medicine, actively helping someone go through a process of healing and rejuvenation. And then when I got exposed to yoga, I realized, well, there's something even deeper than all of this. I love the idea of thinking about upstream health, where before someone comes to you presenting symptoms or disease, how can you help them fortify their defenses and basically proactively eliminate the chance of disease? And that's why functional medicine is also something I'm really curious about. Um, so for me, because these have always been interests of mine, as I step into the world of Austin and Denver and speak with friends and look at different projects and companies that I could either start or be a part of, I'm looking at the powerful tool of AI applied to human well-being, longevity. As I see my parents age, it's just this daily reminder that um, you need not normalize cognitive decline and becoming immobile. I feel that sadly, to be 60 or 70, so many people have normalized this idea. Oh, I'm just going to start forgetting names and I'm not going to be able to move and do the activities I loved. That does not have to be the case. In fact, when I was at Vaidyagrama, I remember reading some of these pamphlets about living, until you're 100 or even
120. That's right.
120 and 120. So uh, just realizing that's a possibility. And of course, there are centenarians among us, be it in the US or in Japan or in India or the Nordic countries, wherever they are, it's possible. And it's for me, it's not about the number. It's just about experiencing an amazing quality of life for as long as possible to just savor each day and each friendship that we create. So I think the next chapter for me is being part of projects that help improve human quality of life. And I think Ayurveda is definitely one of those systems that I think more people should learn about and be
Of
exposed to.
course.
If only the people listening to this had an Ayurvedic
Right?
doctor to speak with.
Hey,
And
hello. Namaste.
so, yeah, I think a great friend of mine I was speaking to today, who is actually a pioneer in the area of AI and large language models, teaching computers to understand language. He was just helping me understand at a very basic level, AI is like an autocomplete. It is, you know, if you're in a Tesla, it is auto completing the next mile of your journey, and it's using historical data and training data to then fulfill that gap between where you are and where you want to go. And I imagine you can use that autocomplete. You can use that conversation approach of generative AI to solve so many things. And now there's the next wave, which is about AI agents, which is not just getting them to converse with you, but getting them to execute tasks in your life. So, how do we apply these very unique tools, which can be used in a really beneficial way, and definitely can and are being used in a very destructive way? AI is being weaponized as we speak. It's being used in military applications. How do we use this to help enhance quality of life, enhance human flourishing, allow people to explore what makes them human, their creativity, their intuition? How can we allow AI to automate the things that are mundane and not interesting to us so that we can focus on
Yeah.
playing guitar or learning Ayurveda or hiking in the mountains of Colorado? So I'm still in a phase of exploration, talking to friends and colleagues and mentors. But I have no doubt I want to invest my time in projects that do enhance the things that make us human and enhance our health
Do
span
you
and
want to
lifespan.
open an Ayurvedic clinic in Denver or Boulder with me?
I think we talked about that right before I left. That's definitely in uh, the bucket
An
list that
Ayurvedic clinic. So the
I
pie in the
want to
sky
do.
for me is an Ayurveda clinic that also has an Ayurveda cafe because food is such a big part of this. Food is going to play a
It
big
is.
part in how we thrive because right now, I mean, Sadhguru is on this whole movement of saving the soil and the amount of nutrients that are
Yes.
even available to us currently. And yeah, just making sure that the environment that we're growing in is literally safe and being well maintained, and we're we're stewards of this planet, you know, for all of the species. We really are the ones calling the shots. So how do we, you know, live in a way that is not just extracting but is also contributing? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so the
Powerful question.
cafe, oh,
We definitely need these spaces, clinics, cafes, retreat centers that allow people to
and
experience wholeness.
redefining yoga studio. Like I would love to have yoga classes in this space, but that are also Ayurveda informed so that they're not going to push pitta and they're not going to push vata and they're not going to push kapha. They're tridoshic, right? So having a little
Mm,
bit of each, a little bit of stillness, some dynamic movement,
mm,
right? And some detoxing postures and but also breath work.
mm.
And I think a yoga class can be more, so much more than inhale, raise your right leg, step it through. Like it could actually be, you know, sequenced in a way that is incredibly we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge.
We do.
So like just imagining Ayurvedic yoga classes, like what does that even mean? Right? Like
Yeah.
people have this curiosity about Ayurveda and where it fits and how people can really adapt this. And I don't think it's that difficult. I think there just needs to be a space where teachers like us come together and share a space and teach workshops on the weekend and, you know, do, like you said, retreats or course, like longer term courses if people really want to get deeper into it, offering that and not dumbing it down. I think that people are a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for. And sure, we have things like TikTok that are decreasing. Like if we look at the data, I know our attention spans are on the decline, but
Yep.
we also can't underestimate the intelligence of the Vedas and that this is an entity. This isn't just a book that was written by someone thousands of years ago. This was channeled from the place that we all originate from. So if we're all coming from this divine intelligence, that's this natural intelligence that exists, of course we're all going to be magnetized and pulled back to it. Of course, everyone wants to
Mm,
learn this. It's not even, there's no doubt in my mind that people are craving and yearning for like a deeper connection with themselves and the true source.
absolutely.
Now it's just a matter of
Yes.
bringing it to them and sharing it in a way that is easy to digest. Hello, Ayurveda 101.
Mm.
Nothing matters if you can't digest it. Nothing. No amount of
Exactly.
organic, locally grass fed, whatever is going to do anything for your body if your digestive system isn't online and isn't, there's no agni, right? If there's no digestive fire, or if there's ama, if there's just an accumulation and blockage of the channels, nothing's going to get
Yes.
assimilated into your tissues, you know. So um
Yes.
yeah, that's where the teaching comes in. We're the enzymes kind of, in a way, for this knowledge to
I love that. Enzymes, the catalysts.
we're the digestive enzymes.
You've put it so You've put it so beautifully, and of course, I know we'll be collaborating in many ways. It would be incredible to create a center in Colorado that people can come to experience vitality. Um, what you and I have tasted through the sciences of yoga and Ayurveda, they are timeless. They are universal. They are not constrained to one group of people in one geography. They may have an origin in a certain geography, but the reason why the UN full-heartedly passed International Day of Yoga on June 21st is because this has value for every human being. And this is not about a belief system or a dogma. This is about discovering the joy of being human and connecting with the parts of yourself that are boundless and timeless and divine. And I think, as you said, making it digestible. Like if I was speaking with freshmen in college, Trent, right now, um, I wouldn't hide anything, but I would want to frame it in a way that is relatable for that person where they are. So um, when you talk about a retreat versus an immersive program versus like a full-time 3-year experience, it just really depends on where the person's at, what they're seeking. Something Sadhguru has been sharing quite a bit is that when he first started uh, teaching yoga in the 90s, 80s and 90s, he saw that many people were coming because they wanted to fix a back issue, or they wanted to stabilize their blood sugar, or they wanted to, have healthy blood pressure. He has seen that flip, where now the number of young people who are coming to programs who are just wanting to seek, why am I here? What is the purpose of this? How can I contribute to raising human consciousness and allowing this to be a golden age as opposed to some dystopia? Because we've all probably watched a few Black Mirror episodes. When you combine compulsive human nature with technology, you can end up with some really terrifying
Scenarios, yeah, we
results.
can all
And
imagine
when you,
different, yeah,
yes,
hellscape,
and some of them are happening
hellscapes.
before our eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, and when you combine the best of human nature, the inclusiveness, the love, the compassion, the seeking with technology and the various tools that we have, then you can have
Oh
a
yeah.
renaissance. And I have very deep respect for Indian culture because it has existed long enough. You can read about and explore and witness the very best of what human civilization has to offer. And you can offer those tools and technologies to humanity at large, not because one culture is better than another, but just that there are things we can learn from as we explore the whole global tapestry of traditions. And I think, yeah, I think bringing the Vedic wisdom to the world would be a
Tr-
phenomenal thing to do. And you're doing it day by day.
Can I say I love you and it not be weird? Can I say I love you, Trent?
Not weird at all. I
You
love you too,
are
Sasha.
amazing. Truly. You're
As are you.
amazing.
As are you.
Now now I'm like, okay, we're definitely co-creating the center after this conversation. I really think we could. I think we could do an amazing job. I think it would be, yeah, and I think Colorado would just be the beginning. I think it could be all over the country
It would be.
and a place for people to
Mm,
learn at any level that they want.
mm,
And
yeah.
there's really no limit to how deep it can go. I mean, because
Yes.
we do have access to the great Sadhguru, and we do have access to the other great teachers that are still embodied and alive, and we're all here, surely, for like we're all connecting and feeling this call to bring this knowledge to the masses, not by coincidence. Like it's what
No.
is the need of the hour. It's answering the need of the hour,
Yes.
and we have information is not hard to come by. We can have information with now with ChatGPT literally in like 30 less than 30 seconds if we want to seek information. But if we're looking for wisdom, and if we're looking for a way to help us truly digest and integrate the knowledge into our deeper selves in a way that's going to help us feel more alive, more connected to one another, and what the truth is, like what the eternal, non changing, irreplaceable truth is. I think that's why we're here, you and I. And that's certainly why Ojas Oasis literally was. I think it was channeled through me. I don't even think I can take credit for it. I think I was just like you, a volunteer for the Dharma, and I just raised my hand. And I was like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. This is what I want for humanity and for the world. And I believe, just like you, that we can create an incredible golden age of all of this knowledge to come back in a
Mm,
way that it's even more vibrant than ever before. Because, like one of my friends and one of my favorite teachers who's been on this show, Freedom Cole, he said, not only are we here to protect and preserve this knowledge, so we are bridges. The teachers and
we are bridges.
Brahmins are throughout the sacred lineage of Ayurveda and yoga and Jyotish. Yes, we're bridges, but we're also here to modernize and to improve upon that which we've
Mm,
been taught, because then it grows and then it stays alive. Because if something stops growing
yes.
and evolving, then it's static and then it's stagnant, and it, of course, we want to bring even more, ojas to it, more prana.
Yes. And have it be contextualized and relevant for this contemporary age that we're in. That's why I think people like Sadhguru have such large followings, is because it's so vital to package and present this timeless, eternal wisdom in a way that is contemporary and that is relatable and that is scientifically validated. I'm working on a daily basis with um, the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet, which is actually headquartered at one of Harvard's teaching hospitals, and they are assessing these meditations through the lens of brain scans and blood tests, and examining if it can reverse aging, if it changes genetic expression. Some people laugh at this because
Of course.
they've known in
Of
their
course it
tradition for
does. Of
millennia.
course
Of
it
course
stops
it does
aging. Have you met
know.
any of those yogis that are like 500 years old that are living in the Himalayas without clothes in the jungle? Like, they don't look a day over 30. Like, these people
Yeah,
exist.
it's incredible. They exist. They have existed. They'll continue to exist. But there are also many people who may not go to the Himalayas to see it themselves. And we have to meet them where they are in Chicago or
Or
Houston or LA
Cleveland.
or London and say, Cleveland, even the Clevelanders, they may need some scientific validation, and say, look at these studies. And I always enjoyed that. In college, even in high school, I would always savor the opportunity to look at the science, and I would take projects and assignments and use them as an excuse to explore the science of meditation, um, the, the cognitive science of these inner practices, these inner sciences. So, yeah, this is the time to build infrastructure for well-being. This is the time to invite people to be part of a revolution in human consciousness.
Let's
And
do it.
I'm so glad we're having
Yes.
this conversation and inviting everyone who's listening to be a part of it in whatever way. It can be listening to a talk by a spiritual teacher. It can be learning about Ayurveda. It can be having a one-on-one session with Sasha to figure out their doshas and how to take that first step. It can be trying a free meditation. It can be somehow finding your way to India, because there's nothing like immersing in a sacred space, the way it can change your life. So I think you have a gift at making things practical and inspiring and digestible digestible for people. And I hope people walk away from this conversation thinking about what's something I can try this week just so that I can taste this and know its validity, know its authenticity.
Wow. How do I follow that? Let's do it. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in for the long
Let's
haul.
make
We're
it
in
happen.
this. We signed up. We signed up. We knew before we incarnated what we came here to do. And we're here to help. We're here to serve and share the knowledge and keep learning and collaborate. I think
Yeah,
I'm in this place now where I think you said something so beautiful. It almost made me cry, low key. You said this community that I'm building. And it's like, I didn't realize when this podcast first started what was happening. Like I was invited to start it by my dear, dear friend who is my co-host and my producer. And
nice.
it was right in the beginning of the doctor program that I began at Kerala Ayurveda Academy. And I was just like, how in the world am I going to balance that? How am I going to do this doctor program? And podcasts it's a time commitment. It's a major commitment. But I couldn't,
Sure.
like, there was no way that I could not say yes. I felt so charmed and so compelled. And um, it just felt like the absolute right thing to do. And as it's evolved and grown, I'm realizing we are building a community. That is exactly what we're doing. All the people that have come on this show, I'm
Yes.
like, you are my friends. You are people I admire and respect and I love. And I met you because I connected with you so well, I want to bring, like, I'm forming this, like, these are my people. This is my
Yeah.
tribe. We're a family now, and we're all here
Yes.
and wanting to help one another behind this cause and this
Yeah.
priority of protecting the knowledge, yes, but also assimilating the knowledge and making it not so intimidating. We're the first
Yes.
digesters of
Yes.
it. We're like mama birds. We're like digesting it, we're experiencing it, and now let's feed it to the to the children. Sounds kind of weird when I say it now, but
Regurgitation
maybe
of
not.
spiritual wisdom. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
that's
don't
going to
think
fly, Sash.
maybe
I
that's
don't know if
not the
that's.
best way to say it, but you know what I mean. You know what I
I love
mean.
it though. I know exactly what you mean. As you speak, I'm thinking about the word sangha, which has been on my mind and in my heart and in my speech for the last several weeks as I meet with my dear friends, my brothers, my sisters, fellow seekers. I think about how valuable it is to have a sangha, a collective of people who are pursuing their highest possibility. And I know this is the case through your podcast. This isn't about using terms to seem like you know something that others don't. This is just about offering people a word, a sonically charged, a sound that invites a certain reflection. So sangha to me is about thinking like who in my life is helping uplift me to my highest nature, and who am I able to help as they pursue living out their highest possibility. And then you have a word like dharma, which again there are many words that people could use, but to me it represents figuring out like what are my innate gifts and what am I here to contribute to. And of course it may change over time, but I think we all have that inner compass that points us to similar things time after time. And if you ignore that, if you live in opposition or in ignorance of your dharma, it can cause this feeling of just wandering aimlessly without a purpose, without a cause. So I think one of the greatest gifts is to have um, a thriving sangha and a clear dharma that you are pursuing day in day out, and it becomes so liberating, because when you're faced with a decision, like this past week I received a project that I could join, and I was like, is this aligned or not? Is this something I want to invest my time, my energy, my life in? Is this going to help me create a stronger create collective, and build relationships that will help uplift me? Or is this about some short-term goal, a financial outcome, how people are perceiving me? Is this about optics?
Validation. Yep.
So validation. some accolade I can put on my resume. So I think these words have potency. These words have such a deep meaning, and I think it's great that we're using them in this conversation so that it gives people something to ponder. And I literally had a conversation with I think it was Claude AI. I like trying different tools, and I asked Claude to help me understand how does dharma, sadhana, and seva fit into my life. And I asked Claude to speak to me in the tone of a great rishi. Do you want me to read the
Yes.
response to you?
Are you?
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a question? Of course.
Let me just let me know if this affects the
Okay.
microphone or
Yeah.
screen or anything. Seeker of wisdom, you inquire about the profound interplay of dharma, sadhana, and seva, the sacred trinity that guides the soul on its journey towards ultimate liberation. Let us explore these concepts with the eyes of inner awareness. Dharma, the cosmic order and righteous duty, flows through all aspects of existence. In one's career and family life, dharma manifests as the sacred responsibilities we must fulfill. Like a river carving its path through the earth, your dharma shapes your journey through this incarnation. Sadhana, the spiritual practice, is the boat upon which you navigate this river of Dharma. Through meditation, asana, pranayama, and self inquiry, you cultivate the strength and clarity to discern and follow your unique path. As the lotus rises from the mud to blossom in the sun, so too does your consciousness expand through devoted sadhana. Seva, selfless service, is the oar that propels your boat forward. By serving others without attachment to the fruits of your actions, you transcend the ego and align with the divine flow. Like the sun that shines upon all beings without discrimination, Seva purifies the heart and illuminates the path to liberation. Thus, live with awareness, act with compassion, serve with devotion. In this way, every breath becomes a step on the path to ultimate freedom. Can you believe that came from an AI model?
Wow. Claude. Well said, Claude. Well said. Incredible.
So,
Well, AI is drawing from our intelligence. That's it's
exactly,
just
exactly.
quickly kind of scanning, it's just computing the answers that have been given, and this truth, it's we
Yeah,
are regurgitating it. Not to go back to the mama bird word, but
we are.
we are. It is. It's how many times can you say the same thing? It's not original. It's not unique. But what is
It's not.
original, Trent? What
It's
is
not.
original is the way that we hold it, because we're all unique in our
Yes. Yes.
karmic blueprint and our dharmic blueprint, and our soul has its own unique flavor. Cardamom can't be cinnamon, you know?
It
But they're
cannot.
both
It
but
has
they
its
both
own
help you
tattva.
digest,
They
and they're
both
both
help you digest.
delicious.
Yeah.
And there's
Yes.
sometime
Yes.
yeah.
You're so right.
I was just going to
No,
say,
go ahead.
like,
Go ahead.
sometimes you're going to want cardamom and sometimes you're going to want cinnamon. Depends on the day,
Yeah.
depends on the, context. But every teacher,
Yes.
even Claude, has that's the voice of AI. And sometimes you're going to want that. You're
Yes.
just going to want to look at your device and get that answer. And then sometimes you're going to want an embodied teacher, a living being
Mm,
who has, through their
yeah.
experience and through their own, you know, unique way of knowing and unique way of speaking, holding it and presenting it and delivering it to you.
Yes. And as a panchakarma treatment has many modalities and methods of delivery, you can explore truth through silent meditation. You can explore truth through walking in nature. You can explore truth through speaking with a friend and a fellow seeker. You can explore truth by speaking to a guru or a sage or a realized being. You can now explore truth through an AI model, through music, through poetry. So I think to your point around cinnamon and cardamom and all these spices that help heal and nourish the body, There are so many ways right now to access truth and wisdom, and there's nothing new, but the packaging can be made personalized. It can be made contextual and relevant. So that's why I look at AI as not something to be feared, but something that has benefits when used consciously, and like it or not, it will influence and infiltrate every aspect of our lives. There's now a prediction that by 2040 there will be as many robots walking around as human beings, 10 billion humanoid robots. Maybe that's off by, plus or minus 5 or 10 years, but the reality is life is already starting to look very different. It's only going to get more and more unique and divergent from where we are. Walking around Austin, I'm starting to see Waymo vehicles, which means fully self-driving, Google cars with these unique radar sensors on the top. This is just the beginning,
Wow.
and I think to learn about that and be excited about that and see how to integrate that while also ensuring there's time each day to experience balance and wholesomeness and nourishment and vitality.
Simplicity,
People have to strike that balance. Simplicity.
nature, being with the trees. Talk about
Yes.
exploring truth. I mean, just
Yes.
go sit at the river or on a mountaintop or with a tree, watch the squirrels. I mean, they'll tell you probably way more than I can, you know?
Yes. The power of nature and how silence can speak to you. Just sitting next to a lake and imbibing its own story, sitting on a boulder and feeling the majesty that it carries, what it's experienced, its own unique
Exactly.
vibration.
Ah, well, we speak the same language, it seems. And what we already knew
We already
that.
knew that, but this was
Yeah.
a further
And
validation.
what a joyous exploration this has been this past hour or so with you and reconnecting, reuniting. What a joy. I'm just so happy to have met you, to have been able to explore some of your journey and how you got to this point and now where you are. And it's such an exciting time. I agree. I think um, we're living at in such an interesting time, and I'm excited. I'm an optimist. I have a sense of humor where it's like, well, there is a shadow. We can't deny that there is some darkness that comes with everything, but that's okay. I think we've proven as a species we can handle that, we can overcome it, we can transcend it. We have the tools and practices to do that, to be with it. And you know I think it's just going to be a really fun ride throughout the rest of our, what, 100, if we live 120 years, a full Ayurvedic. Well, Ayurveda says 100 to 120. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to be witnessing a lot of change, and but we're also connected to that which does not change. And that
Yes.
that
It's so
is
important.
is the purpose of what we're doing. And so thank you again, Trent, for coming on, sharing your knowledge, your presence, the quality of your being. And it's just so rich, it's so vibrant. And
Thank you, Sasha.
yeah, I'm just grateful to know you.
I am so grateful that this conversation happened. We knew during our first sit down at Vaidyagramma back in November that this was going to happen, and it happened exactly when it needed to. Great lighting. We're both back on this side of the planet, pursuing the next step in our dharmic trajectory, and I just love what you're doing and what you're building, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. I'm so glad you got Dr. Ramkumar to be on the Ojas Oasis, and this is just the beginning because we need to create as many ways for people to turn inward and receive wisdom that elevates them, that brings them to a state of wonder and curiosity and excitement about life, because that's what this human possibility is. We don't have to become slaves to some capitalist system. We don't have to become drones who are just lifelessly executing some task. I mean, I know there are financial realities that many of us face, myself included, but to take some time each day to nourish the deepest part of ourselves only benefits everything else that we do. So thank you, Sasha, for being a beacon and for being a Sangha former, for being a mama bird, and for carrying this tradition with so much love and compassion and integrity and service, because I know you're already making a tremendous difference and you are just getting started.
Like I
Thank you
said, I
so
love
much.
you. This is just the beginning for us, working together and exploring what that looks like and what the world needs of us. So I look forward to figuring out how we answer the need of the hour, you know, as collaborative dharmic servants. That's really what it comes down to. And knowing the purity of your heart and your consciousness con- further confirms that, yeah, that meeting at Vaidyagrama was destined for sure.
Not a coincidence. All the best.
Namaste, Trent.
Namaste, Sasha.
Thank you for listening to Ojas Oasis with Sasha Brzezinski. To learn more about Ayurvedic healing, please visit ojasoasis.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, have your smile.